right. I believe we are recording now. Hello, sir. Everybody, this is I'm Jeff Pollard, and I'm doing my special guest here. It's Kelvin Hill. He is also known as Kelvin Kaoz, aka
Correct.
the Fresh Prince of Darkness. And we'll get into a topic where I stumbled upon Kelvin's page and I saw his PSA. So in Instagram alt chaos, you can find in the highlights a PSA column, and in there is a fun video of Kelvin explaining how he does not want to post non-people of color on his page.
White people.
Speaking, what was that?
This is white people.
White people. And of course, I looked in the mirror and I'm like, So I was like, you know what? I'm going to reach out to him. What I love about the internet is that we know each other now. You know what I mean? Like, we're connected. Like, we have that. I just think that's awesome. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the non-people of color, the importance of supporting people of color, or just your thoughts on that in general. And this is Kelvin. Please talk now.
All right. So Jeff, he does not know all of my monikers. Let me share them with you. I run a podcast called The Cast of Chaos, featuring myself, the spookiest boy of them all, the Sephiroth of South Central, the Black Chris Jericho, Rob Zombie's stepbrother through marriage, the deity of Decibel, Will Smith, and Ozzy Osbourne's love child, the Fresh Prince of Darkness. That is me. And thank you. And I've been playing guitar since I was like 11 years old. And I went to school to study music. I studied classical guitar performance in college. And after I graduated college, I won't say that the degree was useless. It was not useless. And the fact that what I learned, the skills that I learned in college, were very helpful to help me do what I'm doing now. But I did not end up becoming a classical guitar instructor like I originally thought I would. I do teach classical guitar, but I thought that I was only going to be a touring classical concert guitar player. And I found that that is not necessarily a thing in that realm, in that pocket, in that group, because there's not a lot of representation for people of color. So there are not a lot of Black classical guitar players in the United States, period. I know all of them. I want to say there's like 10 of us. For it to be, and it's a pretty large business. I also used to be a classical guitar dealer, an antique guitar dealer. And that is how I ended up knowing so many people in that field, is that everyone's calling me to get a discount on a guitar.
Never want to pay for it.
Exactly, yeah. So they're like, hey, Kelvin, can you hook me up? Yeah, right. So I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And everyone's like, oh, wow, you're such a lovely player. You typically, dealers aren't very good players. Not that they're terrible players, but if they're focusing on selling the guitar, they probably are not practicing as much. So I would hear that a lot, like, you're such a good player. Why aren't you getting booked? Why aren't you getting gigs? And I don't know. I have no idea why I'm not getting gigs. So I started to go out and look for more gigs. And what I ended up finding was that the only gigs that I was able to really procure for a long time were gigs where I'm playing either like church music, or I'm playing like in R&B bands, things that are specifically featuring Black musicians, not just musicians in general. Now that ended up becoming less of a thing. I had ended up establishing myself as Kelvin, but it wasn't until I really kind of embraced the Kelvin alternative side where I said, okay, I'm just going to do what I love. I grew up listening to metal. I grew up listening to hard rock and heavy music. But again, as a classical musician, I kind of, threw that all away and said, I don't want to put that into my career anymore. But because I couldn't get any work doing that, I said, well, what difference does it make if I tell everybody that I play heavy metal? So I started to do that. I started to go to heavy metal jams and things of that nature. And that's kind of where the Fresh Prince of Darkness, Kelvin Chaos became a thing. And that's when I started getting the most traction. So now, you know, some of my other friends, some of my alternative Black friends are like, how do you get work? How do you get paid? Like, what are you doing that's different? And I said, well, you kind of have to like not abandon, you can't think of yourself as a musician, but you kind of have to create yourself as a character or a brand. And once you become the brand, say like Snoop Dogg, he's a brand. He was on AEW wrestling last night doing a terrible version of a frog splat, but he got paid a lot of money to be on TNT last night for a person who is not a contracted wrestler.
He's with Martha all the time. So
exactly, because on the strength of his brand, right? Because if you're saying like, oh, as a Black creative, I should have this space, probably not going to happen. Like diversity is not a thing that way, not just to have it. But if you say, I have created my brand strong enough that it defies that, right? Like Snoop Dogg's brand defies what a Black person is normally capable of doing, right? If we're basing it off of what is quote unquote allowed, if we're talking about the scope of racism, right? He says, I don't like that. I'm going to become Snoop Dogg. Okay. And Snoop Dogg is basically a 10 times version of himself, that he is so much himself that he has built his entire empire just by being himself, as opposed to being a rapper, if that makes any sense.
Well, I mean, well, no, it does make sense, because I don't think of Snoop Dogg as like a Black guy. You know what I mean? He's Snoop Dogg.
Exactly. You're like, he's Snoop Dogg. Exactly. Yeah. You're like, he's Snoop. That's Snoop Dogg. It's not a Black dude. Snoop Dogg. Right?
Yeah.
But so I was like, I have to do that same thing.
Yeah.
Right. But and so I have to create myself such that doesn't matter. That when I walk in the room, my reputation is preceding me. So I'm not just, you know, another guy playing, but that I am the guy that people are looking for. They're calling me and say, hey, we need this guy to come here.
Oh yeah. No, the branding and all that. No, I agree.
So I started that, and then a lot of my friends were asking me like, hey, I need help doing that. And at first I thought, well, you know, you kind of have to have the sauce or not. It's like, it's either for you or it isn't. I can't teach it to you.
Ooh,
so so you kind of have to figure it out. Like, not everybody's path is going to be the same, because I don't know what your thing is that you can really latch onto. It's like, you ever see Wedding Crashers and he says, draw attention to yourself, but not in a negative way, on your own terms.
There you go.
Yeah. So you have to, like, regardless of your status in life, where you started from, anybody can draw a large amount of attention to themselves when they amplify whatever their given traits are. Mm. So I started showing people in that way, like, if you focus on yourself, not what people say about you, not what the public's perception of you is, because they're attaching that to you. They're making that up for you. And you're doing this self-fulfilling prophecy by going along with it, by saying, that's all I am. I am only a Black guy that plays classical guitar. If I allowed that to happen, then I would probably still be doing the same thing. But I said, no, I want to be what I am internally, what I was from, youth. Since I was a kid, I was always kind of spooky. I was always into heavier music. I was always very imaginative and into sci-fi and folklore and all of those things. So I put every single one of those things as an aspect to be able to create myself. And I now teach it, because I think there's a lot of people who are wanting the same thing, who are as interesting, who have the same capabilities of me, but they are trapped in their mind that, that doesn't matter, or like, I'm boring, or the things that I like are irrelevant. I'm like, no, the things that you like are the things that are going to get you to that point where people go like, hey, Kelvin Kaoz, I need you to come on my show.
Yeah. No, and you got to stick to who you are, you got to, because then that's what separates you from the herd and all that. So if I'm hearing everything correctly, you got to play to your truths, right? And
correct.
From that, create your own self. And if you stay in one direction, you will be typecast. I'm doing a YouTube thing, and I call it a vlog, and it's fun for me, but what it's like a catalyst for is meeting people, educating people, giving my thoughts just like any other schmuck. And so I'm just kind of like, having fun with it. But yeah, no, I hear you. Find your voice, do all that things. You kind of touched base on one of my questions was like, how'd you get into the darkness? Because even though I don't dress the part, I definitely have a dark sense of humor, and I listen to all the dark music, and I love that world so much. I didn't get to tell you this, but I went to a Marilyn Manson concert with a white polo.
Yes. See, now that's your thing, right? Is to be like the guy that likes the dark stuff. That's like completely square looking. That would be hilarious if that was like a YouTube show and you're like, yeah, totally metal, and you're like, yeah, let me check the stock reports right quick. It would be really funny to me.
Oh yeah, but no, I was listening to his whole Hollywood album. That's my favorite album from his, and people are just
right. But it's funny that you asked me that, because it's especially like a lot of people that I know, they were like rejecting, like they grew up in very like repressive Christian households, and their activities are like a rejection of what they grew up in.
Okay.
But my mom is a pretty spooky person, and just said like, it just made me watch all these scary movies as a kid, like, and
Really?
she liked music, and she was just like, you're gonna do what I'm gonna do, and I was like, cool. So when I get to become like, when I'm in high school and stuff like that, I don't even notice that I have a dark sense of humor, because I'm just thinking I'm making the same jokes as my mom.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. And I didn't realize she's kind of insane. But yeah, like I think the very first horror movie I ever saw was The Exorcist.
Nice. Okay.
And I had to be like 6 or 7. She's like, you have to watch this, and you can't pee on yourself. And I was like, what? Yeah, and it was like, it was frightening. But after that was like our thing. Every Halloween we would binge Halloween, like spooky movies and stuff like that. And even to this day, me and my mom will still go and watch whatever the scariest movie is, and I always jump, and she's like,
"Pussy."
Yeah, basically. Yeah, and of course, I wasn't listening to the music. Like the music was my own personal thing. I think the very first, because I'm 34.
Right.
So you're also 34? Oh, nice. So do you remember TRO? You look really young. TRO was like Total Request Live on MTV.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so every day after school, I would go home and watch it, because I think I was like 11 or 12. So me and my cousin would watch it, and she was really into the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and all of that stuff, right? And I've always been a contrarian, So I remember the very first day Korn reaches #1 for Freak on a Leash, I remember jumping up and go like, yes! Just because it wasn't Britney Spears again.
Yeah, that's good. That's true. Are there any bands that with people of color, singers, or prominent in the foreground that you would get your what's the word? Inspiration.
Yeah, so right, yeah, it's funny that you asked that, because that was also a time where like rap metal was a thing. Or that's like when I first heard it was Limp Bizkit did a song with Method Man.
Okay, yeah.
And it's called All In Together now. Again, I was I also really into wrestling. So Limp Bizkit had done this song for The Undertaker's theme song. And again, Undertaker was a spooky character. I really loved that. And they did a song for him. It's called Rollin'. It's a terrible song. Right, keep rolling. Remember that shit?
Oh, that was for The Undertaker?
Yeah. When he was like the American Badass, when he stopped doing the spooky shit for a minute, he was like rolling bicycles, like motorcycles and stuff.
With his red cap?
It was a weird time. Yeah, it was a weird time. Anyway, they wrote a song for him. I think Kid Rock had just come out with, he did a song with Eminem called Fuck Off.
Nice.
And his band is called Twisted Brown Trucker. And he's got another song this was the Undertaker's theme song, was a Kid Rock song. Can't remember the name of it, but they sample Metallica's Sad But True.
Okay.
as the basis for the song is the riff from Metallica's Sad But True. So I'm the type of person, even in hip hop, I always go see where the sample came from. So if I like the song, I will go look up the sample. Like the very first time I did this was Ice Cube's Today Was a Good Day. When I found out that that's Footsteps in the Dark by the Isley Brothers, I was like, well, this song's way better. Like, why would I listen to Ice Cube's song when I can just listen to the original? Because I'm purist like that. Right? So I did the same thing with the Kid Rock song, and I found the Black Album, the Metallica Black Album with Wherever I May Roam and Enter Sandman and all of that stuff. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to play loud ass guitars. I want to play stuff really fast. I want to say, yeah, like, and I want to scream.
And that's how you found yourself. I got to listen to some of your stuff, and that is spooky. I listened to the EP that you gave out.
Yeah, the spooky EP.
Well, I mean, everything's like, but I liked it.
Thanks.
That was cool. And by the way, everything I'm gonna post, and then obviously you can rewind and hear all his handles too. But I'm gonna put it in the bio and all the prep stuff. But kind of going back to that PSA thing. So why is it though so important? For me, for a white person or just anyone who might think like me, like I hate the idea of creating more division. So you tell me though, like the importance of it, or just your thoughts in general.
Right, and I had to think about that when I did that because like I've told you before, like a lot of my supporters are white. Number one. Secondly, a lot of people in the alternative POC community are like coupled with white people. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I can say like, hey, you can't come to the show because like who's going to give you a ride there if you're married to a white guy? You know what I'm saying? Like, honey, you have to wait in the car. Right. So the idea is not to create division in the sense of like, you're not welcome here.
Yeah.
But that we would like our time in the spotlight without having to hear, oh, you're being divisive, because it is always divisive. Like the norm is division if you're a person of color. Like I said, as a classical musician, if it's based off of merit, who is the best player, I would kick so many people's asses. Not everyone, but a lot of people. It wouldn't even be a contest, and they already know that.
See, this is important. This is what I really appreciate you saying is like, there's somebody out there, and they'll click on this, they'll see it, and then they'll be like, okay, now I have an understanding. It's like, yeah, by the way, we don't represent anything. We're just two guys with opinion. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's not all black. I'm not all white.
Yeah. It's that. Yeah, it's to create a space where people of color are feel that they can present their music and they don't have to shrink themselves or fit in, because there's a lot of times, again, like I would go to Metal Jam and I'm the only black guy there. So I get there and they're saying, oh, you look like, do you want to play a Hendrix song? I'm like, I signed up for a Metallica song, bro. I did not sign up for a Hendrix song. Yeah. And they're like, oh, do you like the Warriors? Do you know who Eric Gales is? Yes, I fucking know who these guys are. Why are you asking me these strange questions? You wouldn't ask a white guy that. I'm like, ask me a question that you would ask another human being. Don't ask me a question because you're looking at my face. If I'm there to play music, I obviously know the entire pantheon of what I'm signing up for. And I would not do that to you. I wouldn't, if you walked into my venue full of black people and you're one white guy, say, hey, Vanilla Ice, Ice baby. That's an asshole thing to do, regardless of race. It's not cool for a black person to do to a white person. It's not a thing that I promote at all, to lower somebody down to just their skin color or their haircut or whatever. If you came to me, if you found me, I assume we have the same interests, and I assume that we're going to get along because we appreciate the same type of art. And that's what I want to focus on. I want to focus on the art and our appreciation of the same type of dark sense of humor, the same type of, like when we're talking about the Marilyn Manson album, like Hollywood we're not talking about, oh yeah, I was a black guy that grew up in South Central. We're just like, this song made me feel this way. And you're like, yes, that song also made me feel this way. We're friends. I don't care about your background. It doesn't matter, you know? Yeah. So again, when it came to that, it wasn't to be divisive. It was more that I was getting other people sending me artists that were Caucasian. And I had specifically, before I said it the way that I had said it. Yeah. And again, my character is an abrasive character. Kelvin Kaoz, the Fresh Prince of Darkness, is not a character that minces words. And the reason why is because there's a lot of apologists, and apologists find themselves getting bullied very frequently, especially on the internet, because they're trying to find the right words to say. And the reason why they do that is because they don't want people to dislike them.
Yes.
But then like what happened in the Capitol building yesterday has to do with a person who does not care about people who dislike him. And I'm saying that to be authentic, you have to be that way, because if you are having people who are, and I believe in freedom of expression, like you can express yourself in that way, it is your right. And whatever happens after that is what happens. However, if I am not expressing my right because I am held to a different standard, saying, it is not right for you to say things like that. And was like, I have guys literally out here storming the Congress, saying, like attacking people. And we're trying to play like, we have to be the bigger people. What the fuck does that even mean? The bigger person for what? Yeah. Like, I'm just not saying what I think because I don't want to get my feelings hurt or because I don't want somebody to come after me. Guess what? They're already coming. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm just going to say it how I say it. I mean, real rock star shit, you say what you're going to say. You say it and you deal with the consequences of that, like Marilyn Manson. He said, yo, God is dead. And he had to deal with that. Right? You have to me, if you're a real rock star, you have to say what you're going to say. You have to deal with it. And if somebody gets mad at you, too fucking bad. I can change my opinion. Like if a person wants to engage in a discussion with me and it's a legit discussion and they actually end up changing my mind, I'm open to that. Right. But I'm not going to change my mind just because I think somebody's going to piss somebody off.
Well, that is exactly how I would like to end this conversation. I think that's great. No, keep it to it. I mean, I want people to visit your page at Alt Chaos, and then from there you'll see a bunch of his other links too and stuff. And that's where you'll find his crafty PS. I do the hand gestures. You'll see his PS and all that, and it'll be fun. But no, please support this guy. He seems like a cool guy. I had a great chat behind the video, and that's what I like about the internet. That's what I like about it. You get all the haters, but then you get those gems, and it makes it fun and stuff like that. So
the haters are cool too, though. Like a lot of people, I think, take it too personally when it comes to a person who has took their time out of their day to tell you that they don't like you. You must have affected them. I dig it. Yeah. I'm like, give me the smoke. Tell me you hate me. I love it. I don't care.
All right. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. See this guy. Man. Check out the links. Have a good day.